listening to the Mark Bradford Alchemy for Life podcast.
Father's Day interview with Jesse Lee Peterson. So I am here with Jesse Lee Peterson. Hi, Jesse.
Hey, Mark. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, I'm happy to have you on. And
Right.
as I start every show, I ask the person who they are and what they do. So if you don't mind, I'm going to ask you who you are and what you do.
Well, my name is Jesse Lee Peterson. I am founder and president of Bond, the Brotherhood Organization of a New Destiny. And for 31 years, we've been rebuilding the family by rebuilding the man. We counsel, we tutor, we started an entrepreneur academy where we're helping young men start their own businesses. And if those who are already in business need some advice, we try to help them as well. We started a credit union so that we can loan the guys the money that don't have it to start up a business. And they have to pay it back with small interest. I've written several books, From Raised to Responsibility, The 7 Guaranteed Steps to Spiritual Family and Financial Success Guide, Scam, How the Black Leadership Exploits Black America, and The Antidote, Healing America from the Poison of Hate, Blame, and Victimhood. We also have the FallenState.tv, FALLEN, the FallenState.tv, and JesseLeePeterson.com.
Nicely done.
And people can find more information by going to rebuildingtheman.com, rebuildingtheman.com.
Perfect. Very, very, very well executed. And I meant to say to you as well that at the end of the podcast, I also always give people a chance to shout out. And when we are finished with the podcast, this is also published with an article that's written. And I always make sure to include all of your links. So all of those links will be included, including links to your books in the podcast when it's released.
Right on. Thank you.
You're very welcome. And one of the things you said was interesting. You said rebuilding the man. So can you expand on what that means?
Well, most men today, especially millennials, but not only, don't know how to become a man because they have been so degraded and demoralized and put down and just been brainwashed with drugs, pot, and all that kind of stuff. So we're showing them how to overcome the fallen state and return back to their natural state of being. And most men don't realize that they have been turned away from their fathers by their mothers. And because they resent the mother for doing that to them, being impatient with them, impose her will, you become like whomever you're angry at. And most men have their mother's identity because we're all born through the woman. So you get the woman's identity. That's why men are emotional, logical, angry. They overreact to a situation just like a female because they have their mother's identity. And, they must be born of the father. They must return to the fathers. So we show them how to go and forgive their mothers for turning them away from the fathers and forgive the fathers for not protecting them from their mothers. And once they do that, God will give them back their natural identity, that of a man, which is of God, instead of a woman, which is of Satan.
Okay, then. I do realize that the statistics for homes without a father are really interesting when it comes to how it affects. It's odd that it affects the children more than homes without a mother. You'd think it would be 50-50.
Well, it affects even those who are growing up in the home with the father, because most men are married to their mothers. And when they get married to these women, they don't know how to deal with them because they never overcame their mothers and learned how to deal with their mothers. And so once they get married, they become boys and the wife become the mama, and they leave their children to the woman, and she too end up turning them away from their fathers, causing them to become angry like her, and they take on the identity of their mothers. And so if the fathers are not the head of their wives and standing between the wife and the children, even those who are married, the kids will end up screwed up as well.
Yeah, and typically the men are seen as the disciplinarians and the final line. You know, wait till your father gets home, sort of thing.
Yeah.
And mothers are typically seen as the nurturer, which is a bit difficult for men who raise their kids on their own, because they are the nurturer, but they're sometimes not looked upon that or given the benefit of the doubt that they do have the ability to do that.
Well, it's a it's really the role of the woman to watch over the man's children while he's away, because she's the vice president, he's the president, and her job is to watch over his children. You know, feed them, make sure the house is clean. If something should happen, but you know, the kids get out of control for whatever reason, the mother is to report that to the father rather than trying to discipline the children, because it's not in the woman's nature to disciplined children. Women don't have love. They only have anger, and they have a false sense of love. That emotional stuff is not love. It's come from anger. Real love comes through the man. That it comes from God through Christ, through the man to the woman to the children. And when that is not happening, the whole family end up in destruction.
And are you detailing the troubled people and people who come to you? That's essentially what you're talking about, I mean, in what you just described?
Well, I counsel with men and women around the world of all ages, all races, and it's the same thing. It's the same spirit. Whether they are poor, have a lot of money, middle class, and old or young, it's the same thing. And when they realize that, men and women, because a lot of women are just like their mothers too, they got to forgive their mothers and return to their fathers. Otherwise, they repeat the cycles of their mothers. And so all who are born into crazy families, and they must overcome by returning to the fathers.
Okay.
Some are worse than others, but the spirit is still the same. The battle is a spiritual battle. It's a warfare between good and evil. And that's why men are so hated, because the man represents God on earth. He's the son of God. Even though he's been turned away from the Father, he's still the son of God. And so the spirit of the woman, which is of Satan, hate the spirit of the man. There's an enmity between men and women, because women, they get their love from below, and men are sons of God, women are daughters of Satan. And so you have that battle going on. That's why the man's responsibility is to help the woman overcome that emotional state rather than catering to it, because a person with emotion has no peace.
Okay. So do you receive a bit of pushback on a couple of the statements that you just made?
I do, but I don't take it personally, because I understand they can't see. And so it's not personal. When I'm called names, when they try to attack me, I just let it roll off my back, because I realize they cannot see. If they were able to see, they will understand. So I don't take it personally when they do that. I've been called all kinds of names for
Gotcha.
all kinds of reasons, but it's no big deal.
Well, I would imagine that women would take quite a bit of umbrage to being told that their love comes from below versus above. So I
Right.
would imagine.
And some do. Those who are not seeking to overcome, they will take it personal and overreact. And it's because women are very insecure. And that's why they try to make the world rotate around them. They want you to believe that they're the cast meow when they're really not. And when you tell them the truth about that, their egos goes out of control. Because if you notice, Mark, women, they can't handle the truth. And the hardest thing for a woman to do is to admit that she's wrong. She can point out everybody else but herself, and it's everyone's fault but hers. And so they need a father's love so that he can be patient with her. And in about 50 years or so, they start to overcome.
Did you say 50 as in 50?
Yes. And then you die, the kid, but at least the kids survive, because they're adults now.
I see. That's a good amount of time. That's a considerable amount of time.
And just before you die, you see a little glimpse of her waking up, and then you die.
Yeah, I can definitely see a bit of pushback on this. I can definitely see that
And
and
why do
feel
you
that.
think that would be pushback?
Well, I would think any aware, intelligent person would take uh, they would take exception to being told that everything that you just said, actually, that they are, their love comes from below, and that it takes a while for them to sort of get out of their larval stage, if you will, because I would assume some people are already there. I mean, and I would assume across the two sexes that it kind of both genders kind of share some pluses and minuses.
I have met women over the years who have heard the message and they've gone and forgiven their mothers, apologized for resenting their mothers because they realized the mother can help it and return to the father. Then
Mhm.
those women, they can see. But finding a woman that is honest and that can see is like looking for a needle in a haystack.
Mhm. Well, I'd like to say that I think I may have found a few needles then, because I do think I have encountered some women definitely that seem to be very well adjusted and aware and perceptive, and do seem to, at their core, they're very good people.
The
So,
way to find out is to tell them the truth about themselves. Then you'll see.
well, I think humility goes a long way with lots of people, and it is humility is an excellent test, I think.
Right. And that's one thing most women don't have. I can think of many words to call women. Humble is not one.
I love that I just opened that door for you. You're welcome. I was trying to close them. Okay then.
You
Alrighty then.
disagree with that?
Do I agree
Do
that?
you disagree with that?
Well, I think culturally we are set up right now that men are expected to be more humble than women, because when you have things like "you go girl" and this kind of power and that kind of power and let's support each other and all sorts of hashtags, and you don't have those same hashtags for guys, and you can't go to the store and buy a t-shirt that says the future is male, but you can certainly buy one that says the future is female. I
Right.
would I would certainly see that, men basically grow up keeping their mouth shut, or at least they try to, versus this sort of overly this cheerleader kind of mentality that we've created now. Unfortunately, I think the pendulum has swung a little too far. I completely understand building people up, and I completely understand giving people self-esteem, but when you keep throwing heaps and heaps and heaps of it, I think there are some outcomes that may not be very desirable.
But women, they need men to speak up. Men need to stop being beta males and start becoming alpha males. And because women need men. Without men, they're lost. They because of their emotions, their illogical mindset, they make decisions based on how they feel and how they think, and so they're never right. And they need men to become like fathers to them and guide them in the way to go. Otherwise, they only get worse. They cannot get better.
Okay.
So they need men to start speaking up and have perfect love, which only comes from God, right? And they need that from the men so that the women can get better. Women need men in the same manner that men need God.
I thought you were going to say women. I thought you were going to say it was a mutual thing.
No, the man came from God and the woman came from the man. And so if the man is out of order, then the woman will go out of order because once the light of the man goes out, the women light goes out and then they can't see the right way to go. That's why they screw up everything.
I'm so glad you don't generalize. I appreciate that about you.
No, you're welcome, buddy.
The, so you basically see men as sort of the conduit, versus men and women having their own connection directly, correct?
Right. If men need to return back to God and God will guide them, and then through the man, God will guide the woman. But when it's the other way around, right now, because of the fall, Satan is the fall of Adam and Eve. Satan is the woman's God, and the woman is the man God because he listened to the woman. And that's why he must be born again of the Spirit of God. By forgiving his earthly father, he could be born of the Spirit of God, and that order would come back together, and the woman would no longer be his God. Then he could show the woman how to overcome Satan by showing her how to overcome her anger, which would cause her to overcome all the emotional stuff. And God would develop a logical mindset within her. And then she'll start thinking like a man, and it'll be an amazing world.
There is a lot to be said about the male energy and the female energy, and a lot is said about that not only in literature and so forth, and but even in yoga practice and so forth, when it comes to male energy and female energy, and the right brain and the left brain, and creativity versus logic. And we do typically expect certain members of society to be a bit more logical, and we expect other ones to be a bit more emotional. So
And what member of society is that?
Which
To
one?
be logical.
Well, we typically expect sort of to a lesser extent to what you had said, that we expect men to be more logical, militaristic, logical, all that stuff.
Yeah. And which one is illogical?
Well, creative, let's say, a bit more creative, a bit more emotional. I guess we do expect that there's a bit more of that when it comes to women.
And not only do we expect it, it is that way, right?
I think we do tend to see that, but I do think there are people who have right and left brain, and they go back and forth. There are some very creative, emotional men, just like there are some logical women out there too.
But an emotional man is a woman. He has a woman's mindset.
Right, the female energy, as I had said, yes.
But that's not good energy, though. That's wicked energy. That's evil.
Okay.
Because it comes from below. And so anyone that has anger, of course, any man that has anger is a female. He must overcome his mother's and or grandmother, whatever woman raised him. He must overcome them by forgiving them for what they've done to him. And then forgive the father, then he would come back. But it's not normal for a man to have anger. That is the nature of his mother.
So when you describe emotions, though, do you not believe that there are some good emotions to have, that you can be a bit, and I don't want to say emotionally out of control, but you can have emotion and still be very positive? Yes.
There is a normal emotion that comes from God, and it guides you when, but there's when and when not to and all that stuff. But
Okay.
there's a bad emotion, an evil emotion that comes from Satan, and it's always feel sorry for people, boohooing, overreacting, carrying on, insecure, doubt and fear and suicidal and depressed and controlling and all that. And that is an evil emotion. You're not supposed to have those types of emotions.
So yeah, so basically what I was clarifying is that we do have positive and negative emotions, and some of them are destructive and some of them are not.
Well, if you are in your proper state of being, you only have the right emotion. But if you don't, you only have evil emotions. If you're born of God, return to your father, it's the right emotion that happens when it just come and go, like no big deal, right? But if you're not born of the father, you have not returned to your father, all other emotions are evil because it's based on anger. And anger is hatred, and hatred is playing God. It's all ego.
I certainly, if you come from a state of negative outlook on people, and you do come from a place of anger and hate, that certainly can override the other things. But I do believe, and I think you said that it's more of a coming and going sort of thing, because I think the human experience is not to be, infinitely pure the entire journey. It's to learn and to fall and to get back up again and learn from mistakes and so forth.
The human being natural state of being is dispassionate, and a passionate human being is in an abnormal state of being. And in our world today, because it is pretty much taken over by women, it's becoming a very passionate, emotional world, And as you see, the more passionate and emotion the world become, the worse things get, because that's not the way it should be.
Yeah, I believe there's a place for both. I mean, if you know, you cannot lead with only emotion. Only something bad can happen to that. If you temper kindness with logic, I think that is definitely the best way to go. Because if you make laws and things based on overreactions and emotions, and then you have to clean up later after that, that's never going to be good. But if you sort of temper that with the logic and overseeing things in a more systemic way or as a system way, I think that makes more sense. Yes.
Oh,
But I do think there's a place for both. Do you not?
well, there's only a place for one or the other. You're either a passionate, emotional person, or you are a dispassionate person. Because, as I've said earlier, a passionate, emotional person, whether it's a man or a woman, uh, is of their father, the devil. Satan is their daddy. And if you are a dispassionate person, it's of God.
So what drives you to have all these things that you're doing is sort of like this ministry and the fallen state and rebuilding the man, and even like all the effort you put into like establishing the credit union, and then that, would you not call that passion?
Not at all. It's dispassionate. And the reason it's happening is because I love God with all my heart, soul, and might, and my neighbor as myself. And what I do in life is what the Father is giving me to do. I didn't plan to do this. I've been doing it now for 31 years. I'm surprised that I am doing what I'm doing. It's a gift that was given to me by my Creator. It's His
So,
plan for me, and it's from Him.
so then how do you define passion then? So like literally the definition of the word passion, how do you define that then?
When you hear a lot of people say, "Oh, I am passionate about my job. I love my job. I am
Right.
so passionate about it. I'm passionate about my flowers, or I'm passionate about going to a movie, whatever."
Or
All
a
that stuff
charity.
is evil,
So if someone's passionate about a charity where they're helping others,
right?
that's not a good thing.
Right. Well, they'll tell you that I'm lost. I have suicidal thoughts and all that, and I'm trying to find something to make myself feel better. They're
S-
looking on the outside, but not realizing that what they're looking for is on the inside, and they're looking for that state of mind of becoming dispassionate rather than passion. And so they keep going from passion to passion, never getting better, only getting worse. And then one day you hear about them, they jumped off a bridge and killed themselves.
So your perception of that is that someone who is passionate about something external, like movies or
Or
even the things that you're
money, or a car, or a house, or so-called
right,
friends,
right.
or whatever, right?
All
And
that energy should be turned inward and upward, is
it
what you're
should
saying?
real life come from without, and fake life goes within, and that's what destroys you.
Okay, so you're saying they're kind of within themselves because they're passionate about cars, but they should be external in their passion, you know.
They should always live from within, and so that they can live a dispassionate life
Okay,
instead of this out living from without, looking for something to make them feel good or feel important or feel like something, right?
right,
And because looking outside never solved the real issue. It just give you a temporary fix. It's like smoking pot. And you have a lot of potheads. It's like smoking pot. And then as soon as your high is gone, reality set in. They let you know you're nothing. And you don't want to face the fact that you're nothing, so you get high again. And eventually getting high is not enough. You need to drink, or you need some cocaine, or you need something to try and get that high back, that false sense of salvation or something.
okay. And not to beat a dead horse, because we went down an interesting road on passion here, and I think it's fascinating.
Oh,
But
amazing.
thank you. You 24 minutes in, you said it. Thank you so much. The
Uh,
but just a question is, so that in your mind there is no one who exists that has a passion about a charity or something that is goodwill towards other people, that their mind is in the right place, that's just simply not a good thing?
If they have passion about it, it's all ego. They want to be stroked. They're doing something to
Mm.
make themselves feel better. That's why they're passionate. It's a false sense of real love. It's not real love, it's fake love.
Okay. Now I'm picking up what you're putting down here. So now, so it comes from the true humility of why they're doing it. So if somebody so you're saying person A and person B. Person A does all sorts of things with charity, but they never really talk about it because they just do it because it's the right thing. But person B is always constantly talking about it and saying how passionate they are about it. You're saying the person B is doing it for the wrong reason. The person A is doing it for the right
Yeah,
reason.
the dispassionate person is doing it because it's the right thing to do, and they are not looking to be glorified for it.
Okay.
The
Yeah.
passionate person, emotional person, passionate person, looking to be glorified for it because they're
Okay.
so insecure.
Okay. So you're saying leading
They have
blindly
anger.
with a yeah. So you're saying leading blindly with emotion and allowing your emotions to drive you. That's this passion that you definitely feel is the wrong thing. But being dispassionate about it and having clear thoughts about why you're doing it, that's a good thing.
Absolutely.
Okay. Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you for that.
Amazing.
Thank you for thank you for that little journey we just went on. I appreciate that.
Yeah. That's
So
why we have to overcome the mother and return to the father.
okay, gotcha. So with that, then, as part of this umbrella of Father's Day that's coming up, as well as the whole time, energy, and resources, the what would you say you spend the most of your time on all those things that you just described?
Good question. I think if I were to add up the time, if I think about the time, it would be it would be the radio show and
Okay,
the JesseLeePeterson.com and the counseling. But I spent a lot of time doing a lot of other stuff too. But I think it would
sure.
mostly be like the counseling. Uh, it'd be the radio show because I do that every day from 6 in the morning to 9 Monday through Friday Pacific time, right? And
Okay,
then after that, I do counseling until about 4 o'clock in the afternoon. But so in between time, I'm doing a little. Sometimes I have to tape some Fallen State news shows, the FallenState.tv, and so. But I would say radio and counseling because I counsel with people around the world.
okay. Oh, so obviously, since around the world, most of that would be virtual. It's a phone call or a
Yeah,
Zoom kind
some
of thing.
people can come in if they're in the LA area, other by phone calls or Skype.
Okay. So then, of those things that take that much time, which one would you say gives you the most energy back, where you feel like you've been truly doing the thing you were supposed to do? Would you say all of those, or is there one that stands out?
That's really an amazing question. They're about the same. I feel the same way about them all.
Oh, okay.
I feel that I feel the same way. I'm just grateful to be able to point people right. I mean, back to their natural state of being, and when they do find that, when they find that kingdom within, and they wake up, there's no greater joy than that. Meaning that I know now that they can see they're going to be fine, right? But other than that, it's just all about the same. I'm just grateful for it all.
Interesting. Okay. Interesting.
I
Typically,
hadn't thought of that before.
oh, thank you. I typically that's the way I see things, is that life is made of three things. And I don't, and this is apart from the sort of the metaphysical discussion that we just had, but I see that life is made of time, energy, and resources. So no matter what you're doing in your life, you're spending at least two of those, your time and energy. The typical person goes to their job and they give their job time and energy, and their job gives them resources in the form of money. Sometimes we do something that gives us energy, and sometimes we do things that we don't want to do or we shouldn't be doing, and it sucks energy away from us. So, and the same thing for one person can have completely different effects. For example, public speaking is a perfect one. If you enjoy public speaking, you can do public speaking or even a little talk like we're doing and get all sorts of energy and feel very energized by it. And other people will just be terrified and they'll just feel like the life has been sucked out of them. So that's why I was interested to see, of the things you do, which ones are giving you the energy and so forth. It sounds like they all are. It sounds like every one of those.
Now that you made me think about it, they all are the same. Even when I work out, I go to the gym and work out, I feel the same way about it as I do when I'm counseling or doing the show or giving. I do a lot of public speaking as well. I feel the same way about that I do when I'm resting, when I go home at night and I have some dinner and rest, relax. I feel the same way about it. In all honesty, so I never really feel. It just all seemed the same to me. It just seemed like I'm grateful to be. I have an appreciation for everything that I do, right? So I'm not up and down about any of it.
So maybe it is a lot of that gratitude and this passionate gratitude sort of that we were talking about before.
Dispassionate, yes.
Right.
Just grateful. I am grateful for all that I do because I know that all that I do comes from God and not from me. And so I'm just grateful that for whatever reason, He has decided to use me, work through me for the good. So I'm grateful for my entire life.
That's wonderful. That's a wonderful state of being.
It's an amazing state of being.
Well, that's outstanding. You mentioned the books. What was your latest book again?
It's the Antidote: Healing America from the Poison of Hate, Blame, and Victimhood.
And how would you sum that one up for people? Would you say, if you were in an elevator and handing the book to someone, what would you say why they should read that?
Because it will help them to realize that our battle is a warfare between good and evil, right versus wrong, that it has nothing to do with male or female, black or white, slavery or Jim Crow or police brutality or systemic racism. Has nothing to do with those things at all. It's just a warfare between good and evil. There are those who have returned to the Father, they are of good, and there are those who are still of their mothers, and they are of evil, no matter what color they are. And the battle is a battle between those two, and it's working through human beings. Good want to overtake evil, and evil want to overtake good. But the ones who are of their father, the devil, Satan is their daddy. They're lying about is racism, is men hating women, is women hating men. Even though men who have been born through their mothers hate all women until they overcome mama. And all women hate men and their mothers until they overcome their fathers, right? But it has nothing to do with racism or sexism, homophobism, Islamophobism, Debbie Dadism, Allahu Akbarism, or white supremacism or anti-Semitism. It's no ism. The battle, we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against spirits and principalities and wickedness in high places. But the children of the lie have used words, made up words like racism and all that in order to divide, to deceive, to divide and conquer. And when it's really spiritual, and if people knew that it was spiritual, they can overcome it. But if they think that it's about race or physical, they would never overcome that. It will only get worse.
Okay. So people get caught up in the label that's placed on something versus looking at where it's actually coming from.
Absolutely. So in the antidote, I give perfect examples of that, especially for the blacks, but it's for all people. But I write about the fallen Messiah, Barack Obama, Jesse Jackson, Louis Farrakhan, Al Sharpton, this whole Muhammad Ali, and all those people. And some of these radical women that are around now, how when you read about them, none of them had fathers. They didn't grow up around their fathers. They grew up with their mothers. And as a result, they are angry. And in that state of anger, their desire is to blame and control others for a fake sense of power and wealth. It's about themselves and not about the people at all. And they pretend to have love, but it's fake love. It's not real. That's why the people get worse and these people get richer and they live in amazing communities because they use these people with this fake love of racism and police brutality and all that crap. And so I want the people to read it. They would see how to overcome that so they would not have another human being over them. And especially with men, it's abnormal to have another human being over you. When I grew up, we had no leaders. Our parents were our examples, and God was the leader. But today, the blacks have human beings over them, and these human beings are no good, like the NAACP, the Black Caucus, Louis Farrakhan, the so-called civil rights movement, the liberal media, and others are over the blacks. And if you notice they're getting worse instead of better, you can never satisfy them because we have given them all that they wanted, all that they have asked for the last 100 years, and they have only gotten worse instead of better because they are yearning for the Father, but the world and Satan got them thinking they are yearning for material things, and they blame someone else for their downfall, their inability to do for themselves.
So others would say also very similar to what you're saying, that people are just, the material possessions aren't going to give them what it is that they truly need.
And blaming someone else is not going to do it either. But these people in the antidote, they have brainwashed the people to blame others and make them think that their issue is from police brutality or abortions or whatever, right? And the people falling for it. So I'm trying to wake them up to that.
Okay. Okay.
So it's the antidote, healing American from the poison of hate, blame, and victimhood. A person of real love would never hate their fellow man, even their enemies. They'll deal with them in the right way, but they wouldn't hate them. And they would love all, including their enemies, if they love God. But they must love God. Otherwise, they love Satan, and he's working through them. And that's what's been happening with the so-called blacks, and now it's happening to the whites and Mexicans and others. That's why we got to bring back love, which is from God, in order to turn things back around to becoming normal again in America.
And besides your books and your counseling, how would you say that we really bring that back, sort of as a country?
We got to start being honest. The people who have returned to their fathers must speak up. And when they are called names like racist and sexist and homophobia and Islamophobia, you got to let that roll off your back because those people are doing that. They're fighting back, but they're fighting back with evil. And so we have to love them enough to tell the truth. And a few will overcome it, the rest will suffer and die. And there's nothing you can do about it.
Okay.
But we got to start telling the truth. Otherwise, they're going to look at them. They're out of control now, right? Everything is racist. Everything is blame on white people. But when you look at, I've seen news report, you know how the blacks been attacking the Asians, right?
I've seen tweets and things. I've seen the Asian things, yes.
And when you're looking at the report, they're blaming it on white people. Oh, it's white supremacy. But I'm looking at black people doing it. I don't see white people doing it. I'm like, what the? What the? They're telling you that it's white supremacy, but in nearly every situation, it's blacks attacking the Asians. And that's been going on for a long time. It's nothing new. When you go to the average inner city where Asians are living with businesses and things like that, they're being attacked by blacks. It's been going on for a long time. But the liars, those of evil, telling you that it's the white folks because they hate white people and they want to get rid of them. And the only way that's going to stop, going to come back to normal, white people must start speaking up. And those who are not white but know the truth must start speaking up as well, because these people, they don't like Christians, they don't like men, they don't like the unborn children, they hate America as is, and they want to destroy everything. So if you don't stand up for good, don't think that you're going to get away by hiding behind fear. They're coming after you too, because they hate all. When you don't love one, you love no one. And then they'll turn on each other if you disagree with them or get in their way of power and money. They'll turn on you as well.
Do you think it exists because it's allowed to exist and it's been enabled, or do you think it exists regardless of whether it's enabled or not?
It's some people are going to be in that fallen state anyway, but it's out of control because it is allowed to go out of control. Good must stand up and fight against evil. Then evil will calm down. It would be in control of our country in the manner that it is. But if you don't stand up, it's just on only get worse instead of better. Look how they are like outwardly discriminating against white people. They want to teach white children that they are racist, they can't help it, they were born that way, and it's because they're white. It's called critical race thinking, right? And because no one has dealt with this, it's getting worse. It's now in every area of business and everything, because that's what evil does. And you have to overcome evil within yourself and deal with the evil on the outside of you as well. You can't run because it will follow you and destroy you.
So there's a quote. Sometimes it's attributed to, I think, Edmund Burke, that says, "For all that evil needs to triumph is for good men to stand down and do nothing." So
Absolutely.
that's what you're describing. Okay.
100%. He's right about that. And look at the folks who are running from California to Texas, Arizona, and other parts of the country. The evil people are following them over there, and they are taking over. Texas being taken over by the children of the lie. Arizona been taken over by the children of the lie. Or Oregon at one time was conservative. Now it's been taken over probably completely by the children of the lie. You have to stop running and start dealing with it with perfect love, meaning that don't hate it. Deal with it, but don't hate it, and you'll be fine. Don't fall to anger.
Well,
Anger is hatred.
I think that's good advice for anyone and everyone to
Yes,
not
for
to
all mankind.
yeah. And speaking of all mankind, it's also said that, since you like my other quote, it's also I think it's also been said that strong men make for easy times, and easy times make for weak men, and weak men make for hard times. So it's almost cyclical. So do you believe it's cyclical, or do you believe we can get some sort of equilibrium at some point?
Well, I know that hard time make weak men strong if they deal with it,
Hmm?
and easy time make weak men weaker, and it can make a strong man weak if he's not aware of what is going on. I know that for sure.
Okay. So there are different elements in society that will be affected more than others, but it's not the society gets weak, the society gets strong, and it just keeps repeating.
Yeah. If men were to wake up today and stood up and spoke the truth and, you know, did what they had to do, deal with evil, America would become strong again. It would become the nation that it was when, you know, how white people founded and created America. They created the greatest country on this side of heaven, and they went through rough times. Some even lost their lives, but they stayed with it generation after generation, and they created the greatest country. So in their time of weakness, they were made strong. If they stood up today with that same strength, America would become great again overnight.
Mm. Well, I've joked that if we ever had aliens come down and we had to go to war, I think we'd come together as a planet because we'd stop fighting as other kinds of humans, and we'd realize that we're all the same in that way, and that there's a greater thing we need to do.
Well, if alien came down right now, they'll blame it on the white people.
Jeez.
Uh,
Alrighty
everything
then.
put on the white person. Now, have you noticed that?
Um, I'm gonna. This has been very interesting.
But
This has been very interesting. But my point was that I think we all come together when there's a common cause. I think is what I'm saying. That
when
we
the
all.
last time we had a common cause?
It seemed like 9/11 seemed at a time very common. People stopped bickering a lot. I saw a lot of unity at that time.
Oh, I know what you're saying. But that wasn't real unity. That was emotional, fake unity. Because as soon as that was settled, everybody went back to their corners and started fighting again.
Yeah,
So it was in a fallen state like that, people come together, but it's not the real deal. And then you have those who cannot see. They go, "Oh, we love one another." When there was a time, they didn't love each other in a
yeah,
tragic, just like they don't love one another in a non-tragic. Love doesn't switch according to the situation.
right.
Love is, and it's not based on anything around you or in it. It just is, right? It's not how you feel or what you think at all. That's real love.
Well, that's a wonderful note to be ending on, and I promised you I wouldn't take more than in an hour. So I like us ending on the note of that everyone should just experience love.
Yeah.
I- and again, so I wanted to know if you had any other shout outs. I will definitely keep all of your links in the article, which you'll see soon. But if there's anything else you wanted to shout out, please by all means.
Well, I do want to say happy Father's Day to all of the men. Father's Day is coming up this coming Sunday. And I really wish uh, all fathers a happy Father's Day. Also, I want men to realize how important they are. They are needed on earth. They're on this earth to let the light shine through them. They are the light of the world and the salt of the earth, but they must be born again of the Father so they can overcome the nature of the mother. And then the world will become a better place. And I wish everybody well. It's not about race. I'm sick of all these lies about racism and all that crap. It's about right versus wrong, good versus evil. And we need to return to that. And so I want all people to start realizing that, get to know themselves so they can see the right way to go and overcome that fallen state. And then we can have paradise on earth again. America is the greatest country on this side of heaven. We should not be allowing the children of evil to destroy this country. There's nowhere else to go. We got to stand up for it and not against it.
And as you said, love is the way.
Yeah, absolute. But the love has to come from above, not below. It has to come through God, through Christ, through the man, through the woman, through the children, because women don't have love. Have you noticed that, Mark?
Well, I was. We were so close. We were so close. We were almost out the door, leaving on the note of love.
But I just don't. I want men to realize they're trying to get love from the woman, and the woman don't have love. They receive love. They don't give love. That emotional stuff is not love. That's hate.
Mm.
It's a false imitation of the real love. And so I just want men to know that what they're trying to get from the woman, she doesn't have it. She doesn't have love. The love comes from the father, not from the mother, or from the girlfriend, or the fiance, or somebody else's wife, or a woman with children, an older woman, a younger woman. Women don't have love. They receive love. God through Christ, through the man, through the woman, through the children. So we're still ending on love. Have you noticed women don't have love, Mark?
Well, I'm feeling a little deja vu here because I think this is just where we're ending. We're ending before. So again, I think I would have to contradict you on that one, but we're sort of out of time. But
Oh man.
yeah, I know, right? But I
What
really
the?
beep. I do. I'll add a beep in there so people think you swore. So I really appreciate your time. It's been a fascinating conversation, and I absolutely value your time. So thank you so much for joining me
All right, Mark.
and
I
us.
really enjoyed talking to you as well. Thank you
Oh, it's
for
good.
for having me on. It was amazing, Mark.
Oh, I'm glad you said that. I was hoping you'd say that.
Yeah, it was,
Thank you
and it's
so
true
much.
too. I totally enjoyed it. Time went by really fast.
It did. It did. Thank you so much.
All right, buddy.
Thank you for listening. I always very much appreciate it. As always, the opinions of guests of the show are not necessarily the opinions of the Alchemy for Life podcast or myself. We keep an open mind and we enjoy and appreciate the opinions of others. Take care.